Hello and welcome to the Supernatural Track here at Continual. I'm your host, Gail Z. Martin, and tonight we are talking about the roads not taken for season 11. What plot threads got dropped? What possibilities did they not chase down? What could have gone a different direction? And how might that have impacted the rest of the series? We're going to get into all of that, but first let's let our wonderful panelists introduce themselves, starting with Carole.
Hi, I'm Carole Stokes. I've been a fan of Supernatural since season 3. I started writing fanfic under Fire Sign 10 in 2012, and I am one of the co-hosts of the Spotify podcast, So Get This, The Lore of Supernatural Fanfiction.
Okay. Melissa and Kitty.
Hi, I'm Melissa. I've been a fan since the pilot aired in 2005, and Kitty's been a fan since June of 2020.
Okay, Elektra.
I'm Elektra Hammond. I'm a writer and an editor, and I, like Melissa, have been a fan since that pilot aired, and I stayed with it until that very last episode made me cry.
And I'm Gail Z. Martin and Morgan Bryce. As Gail, I write epic and urban fantasy. As Morgan, I write urban fantasy, male paranormal romance, but all my modern worlds are ones Sam and Dean could walk into and feel right at home. I fell in love halfway through season 11, fell down the rabbit hole, binged 11 seasons in 4 months in time for the start of season 12, and proudly bear the title of obsessed fan. So, season 11, Roads Not Taken. Carole, start us off with something.
All right, let's start off big. What if Chuck had actually been a good god? A benevolent god, a god who cared about his creations, including the people he had created, a god able to rise up.
Just a slob like one of us.
Someone who was not obsessed with, such venal things as competing with his sister, so he had to lock her away, or tormenting, our heroes. What could that have done?
Yeah, certainly opened up a number of possibilities.
And yet it could still have gone all kinds of interesting places. We just didn't have to have the idea of God
right
turn into this small being. And I don't mean size-wise, I mean, scope-wise and emotion-wise and all of that. So what if that?
What if Chuck had followed Will Wheaton's, baseline of don't be a Richard? We'll just put it there. Or what if God was just never on the board, right? We just never get God. We just would have had so much of the ridiculousness. So I'll also go big or go home. What if when Dean killed Death, that broke the curse. Rowena never did the thing to release the darkness, and we didn't have Amara. Or conversely, in that first episode, Out of the Darkness, what if they killed the baby, right? And killed Amara when she was still as low powered as she was going to be coming into this universe. What if they killed her right there? We would not. This was my least favorite season. I did not like the whole God, Lucifer. That just drove me insane. I didn't find it really interesting. I didn't find it compelling. There were some really good episodes in this season. I'm not trying to say they weren't, but they were episodes that didn't feature the whole God, Amara, Lucifer BS. So what if we didn't have Amara? We would have had more episodes like Baby and Red Meat and things that were actually interesting. Sorry, I'll stop on my rant right now.
No, so what if Chuck Shirley had simply remained a prophet? What if he hadn't ever been revealed to be God and he was a prophet, and he could still pop up and interact because he's still having visions and things, but not, he doesn't have the power to be vindictive and petty and everything. And he could still be trying to get 20 call girls from Madame what's her name during Swan Song, and he's like, send over 20. He could be occupied with those things.
If you look up petty in the dictionary, there's a picture of Chuck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, clearly. Elektra?
God, yes, he's a mean and petty god. Or a stranger on the bus, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on how you look at it. I'm going to go in a completely different direction because, I like these alternates to be more fun.
Yeah.
Okay. But by season 11, there was a fan base that would pretty much stick with them. So what if they decided that they were going to take one of their favorite characters and just shoot the whole episode from that character's point of view, like, say, the Impala? Instead of just one episode, go big or go home. It worked for Baby. Why not just like the whole season? Same stuff going on, but all from the, the point of view of a growing more and more frustrated car.
Or the green cooler.
I mean, maybe, maybe the Impala would have run over a few more people. Just out of sheer frustration.
They put the head in and the green cooler's like, don't you put that in me? Snap, snap, snap.
Right?
Well, I'm going to go for an alternate on probably my favorite episode of the season, and that's Red Meat. What if Sam had turned into a werewolf? There's plenty of fanfic where they work together when one or both of them have been turned into a werewolf or a vampire or this or that. That could have been really interesting because, we're past the demon blood now. We're past the boy king of hell. Sam has rotten luck. It just really kind of stands that, he'd end up as a werewolf or something. So, how would that have changed how they hunted? At this point, Dean would have forgiven him. At this point, Dean is past all that stuff. He would have forgiven him. He might have even said, well, if we're doing this, we're doing it together, bite me. And run off into the forest together. And that could have been fun.
And Gail gets the first points for breaking Melissa up.
And there goes Melissa, yeah. Carole, back to you.
What if Castiel had not said yes to Lucifer? What if he maintained some kind of moral backbone or, sense of integrity or whatever, and refused to be Lucifer's vessel? We would not have had all kinds of evil casts.
All of it.
It just would have been so much more. All this kind of extra mess that we just didn't even need in this episode could have been avoided. And he would have remained a stronger ally.
Or he would have remained trapped in the cage. Oh, gee, poor Cass. Guess he's still in the cage, kind of like Adam.
Maybe they could put him in the same cage with Adam, and at least they could play backgammon or something.
At least Jeff, come on.
It would have been more true to his character too. I never really understood the whole saying yes. It didn't beyond the fact that I thought it was a really stupid and weak storyline.
They didn't set it up properly.
They didn't set it up well. No. And it's one of those things where I think the biggest reason it bothers me so much is it just was out of character. I can't see the cast that we had seen up to that point doing that, making that choice. It just didn't ring true to me. And if you were going to play it that way, you needed, like Elektra said, you needed a better reason. You needed to set it up more than what they did. That was a poor writing choice.
Yeah.
Also, we had so much of Lucifer and the angels and the demons, and it kind of was like, well, what are we going to do this season? I don't know. We could have angels and demons at war with each other and bring back Lucifer. I mean, it had been done and done and done, and it was like, can't you guys think of anything new? So yeah, I totally agree with that. Elektra?
Back to the vessel, which was another one of my really favorite episodes from this season. What if the hand of God wasn't a one shot?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
What if they brought it back and, well, they got another shot out of it and they could use it to kill Amara, and it wasn't done, and they could juice it up again and use it for something else, maybe on Chuck.
Even if it was like a 6,
Maybe all I had to do
it was a 5-shooter, one finger, one blast per finger.
makes
and then that's
sense.
it, it's
5
done.
shooter, one for each finger. You know, maybe they could take out Lucifer, and I think that maybe it would be something they could keep in their back pocket, like the cult.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe all they
The
had
hand.
to do, maybe there were a few herbs they had to roast over it and sprinkle them or something. Maybe there was a magic spell, incantation, or blood of a virgin or something. There had to be something they could do to wind it up again. But it seems so silly that they sent it back and they had this great episode, and he brings it back and it's done.
It's a
Mm-hmm.
done.
I wanted him to be able to use that again. I mean, even if it didn't do the job it was intended to do, I really wanted them to have that.
That's fair. We run into the Xana, the imaginary friends, in Just My Imagination. What if it wasn't a one shot? What if the Xana were irregularly continuing characters who popped up from time to time, maybe as information sources or spies, or dropping by to let you know, because they had a unique view of things. They could move without being seen. They were friendly supernatural creatures. They could have been a terrific information network for the boys.
Kind of like Supernatural, the Baker Street Irregulars.
Mm-hmm.
Well, since everybody keeps stealing my ideas, what if Dean had a Xana? Like, because he's older, right? He would have had the imaginary friend first. What if Dean had a Xana?
Yes, but his would have worn leather and had a motorcycle.
And
I mean,
Yeah,
that other
absolutely,
that
but
other
been
kid had the
purple and
one-
sparkly or something. I mean,
Mhm.
no,
he
it
came
would
in all
not. No,
state-
it would not.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
that
wouldn't
other
have looked like what's his face, but he would have had his own imaginary friend, and that would have been good for him to have that outlet.
Mm-hmm. No, I like that idea. I also can see him roaring up on a motorcycle and looking like a, biker dude. Yeah, I
and
could
his
see that.
saddlebags are full of lollipops and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And he's got rainbow exhaust or something. Yes.
Like the unicorn.
Mm-hmm.
just like the unicorn. Yeah, I like that.
Back to you, Carol.
So being that Castiel did say yes, what if they were unable to ever get Lucifer out of him and he's just stuck there? So I'm sure Lucifer is not going to be entirely happy. I mean, he's out of the cage, but he's stuck in Castiel. He's doomed to wear the trench coat for eternity.
Forever.
And Cass is not great at picking up chicks. But yeah, so he's in there forever. So the only one he's really actively fighting with is Cass, because they're in his head fighting. But the boys lose Castiel as an ally. In fact, maybe he becomes an amusing hindrance, because at this point, Lucifer has stopped being really scary. And we're heading into, he's not fully there like he is in later seasons, where he's almost more comic relief and not in a good way like Crowley. So he's like underfoot, he's annoying, he's, complaining about wearing a trench coat all the time. So Lucifer stuck inside Castillo. And no amount of Albrand will get him out.
No, that's Dean when Cass poofs him somewhere.
Poofs him and he can't poop for a week.
Well, there were jokes about Cass being emotionally constipated.
And now you've gone and shoved another angel in there.
That's right.
They could get a third one and it could be like a hat trick.
That's not what a hat trick is, but yeah.
I'm laughing because Melissa's laughing so hard now.
Okay, where are we?
Sorry.
We're on Melissa.
Okay. Great, thanks. All right. I'll go with a semi-serious one. Red meat. What if at the end, when Sam says, "So what did you do when I died?" What if Dean told them the truth? It would not have any impact really on this season, but it would have a ripple effect for the future, because here it is. Sam asks him something important and Dean doesn't really want to tell him, but he's trying to really practice that honesty that they need. It wouldn't have had any like explosive effect on the plot, but it would have been that step towards getting them to a much more solid, better relationship, because Sam would have been pissed, but Sam would have also appreciated the fact that Dean told him the first time. He didn't hide it. He didn't lie. He just was like, all right, I know I shouldn't have done this thing, but I did this thing, and here's why I did this thing, and here's the thing I did, and I'm sorry. I just think it would have been a really great emotional growth point.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Elektra?
Beyond the mat. They go down to the funeral. They meet the other wrestlers. How about if that wrapped up a lot sooner with fewer dead wrestlers? And Sam and Dean decide this wrestling thing might be kind of fun, and that becomes their day job. And they travel around with the wrestlers, being professional wrestlers, because, given what they usually do, this is actually kind of fun and relaxing.
And Sam's going to get thrown across the room anyhow.
Well, yes, but when he does it this way, there's a certain, group of women that actually think that's kind of cool.
And he gets paid for it.
So there are women chasing after them because they're the really cute ones in the group. And, it's a good cover. The traveling around is a great cover for them hunting.
It's a great idea.
To a certain extent, they can direct the troop because they're all in on the fact that they're hunters, and they can recruit the other wrestlers to hunt. And now they have backup.
Ooh.
Well, it would also make a lot of sense why then in season 15, they got kidnapped to be in that cage match.
Yes.
They're already famous as cryptid wrestlers or just wrestlers. Hey, we've got these, well-known wrestlers. We're going to throw them in the cage with cryptids.
Well, yeah, because they're famous wrestlers. Except, professional wrestling is for the most part fake. I mean,
right.
It's got some real stuff
choreographed,
but it's choreographed.
Do we then get to see Sam and Dean like bust folding chairs over monsters' heads and hit them with fluorescent light bulbs?
And
also tights,
I was just going to say spandex.
Spangled tights.
Luchador masks.
Oh, there you go.
Oh,
like
is somebody taking notes? Can we get this as a fanfic, please?
My Big Bang next year.
Thank you.
All
I'll,
right.
I'll commission the art for you, I promise.
What about in the Chitters? If Jesse and Cesar didn't just disappear, what if they had kind of the new Roadhouse, and they, or the hunter friendly B&B where you could go to recover?
The Dude
And
Ranch.
yeah, oh, that's a great, somebody should do a fan fiction about that. Needless to say, there is one that's excellent. But if Jesse and Cesar got to kind of retire, but nobody really leaves the life, they became kind of a place where people could recuperate or get off the grid for a little bit. I could definitely see that working, especially as Sam and Dean kind of step into more of the Bobby role, where they're doing more of the lore, but maybe less in future years of the hunting. I could see that being a great base of operations, or a place to send a hunter who needs extended recuperation or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, but the cover has to be it's a B&B.
Right.
There are just
Yeah.
a couple of extra cabins that are a little further in the back, behind some trees.
Mm-hmm.
I've always wondered why, like, I know that they say that, hunters don't retire because they get taken out, but there has to be a certain number of hunters who actually leave the life because they get injured too badly. I could see them going to school to learn to be EMTs and not practicing at the local level, but being those points of somebody's injured, where's the closest? Like, it's we don't quite need to get them to the ER, but we do need more medical training than, stitching each other up, like, with dental floss and a needle. I've always wondered why we don't see more of those kinds of, like, they were retired, or it's their wives, husbands, children going into that kind of emergency medical and setting themselves up as, you could stay here and recuperate. I can, patch you up. I don't know why we didn't see that more in the show. We certainly do see some of it in fanfic.
Mm-hmm.
The writers didn't think a bit about it.
Yeah, because it's really easy to even just be like a regular doctor, but he's been exposed to something and he's been rescued, or his issue has been dealt with by hunters, and so by that point now he knows about it and can then offer his services, kind of under the table, under the the eye of the law there to
Not
do
not everybody
broken
who
limbs and stuff.
loses a family member is going to become a hunter.
Right.
Not everybody is suited to it, and not everybody's willing to give up their day job, or some people have families, little kids.
Right.
But
And it makes sense. Some other people serve in other ways.
Right.
And
doctors who might be retired but not psychotic, like some of the ones we met, who, okay, they don't have malpractice insurance anymore, but they're still running this, illicit clinic out of the back of their garage, where, if you get busted up in this, set of this distance, you go to this guy. That makes
or
a lot
that Amelia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Amelia could have been useful.
Right. Which would have been really useful.
If he'd been honest about what it was he did, other than a handyman.
Yeah.
And a guy who accidentally hit a dog.
This is true. Well, there is an excellent fan fiction where he accidentally hits Dean, who comes back from purgatory feral and bites a lot. It's Dean's way of marking him to say, this is my person, except Sam keeps getting bitten.
It would be so much more fun if he'd peed on him, honestly.
Bad dog, yeah.
Let him mark things.
Yeah. I forgot where we'd even left off. Were we with you, Carol?
No, it's your turn. It's your turn.
Oh, my turn. Safe house. I could see that being something that took a little more to get out of. They wrapped it up neatly. They had those visions of how it might have gone, but I think there was a lot of possibilities of dealing with having it take longer to get out, maybe a closer call to get out, maybe seeing that their dad had been there and never bothered to put it in the journal, but finding out that more of their acquaintances had dealt with these creatures, because why would they only be in one place? So I thought that was a really cool type of monster of the week for them to only run into once, when there were some that we ran into a lot.
Like bad female blonde werewolves.
Yes, yes. Back to you, Carol.
So back to the vessel again. Delphine was one of those great one-shot characters that we see, like the sheriff in the Benders, and I mean, we've seen a number of them. So like Jody and Donna were fortunate they actually kind of got to integrate more into the story. But Delphine was really great, and she was a woman of letters and clearly had experience and stuff. So what if they had brought her with Dean back? What if she had come into present day with Dean? Certainly she would have had some culture shock. I mean, they didn't have computers in 1940 and things like that. But on the other hand, she's a woman of letters, and she probably knows all of this stuff that they don't have any idea of yet. And so she has a wealth of information, and she's used to dealing with some of this, and she could have become a really interesting asset. I think had that. And there is, I mean, I've read a couple of stories where some stuff like that happens. But I think, yeah, it would have been a really interesting addition to both the team and fleshing out that whole Men of Letters world, since all we really ever get of it is the little bit we see of the US, and then the horrible British arm of the Letters, which not good.
Well, you can't reason that the French men and women of letters, would have better food and
a lot more wine.
No,
bottled wine.
no, they bring her back to the bunker. And then when Tony what's her name shows up and is threatening Sam, she says enough of this shit, and she pops Tony. And that's the end of that one.
I like that.
I have never liked that happened. Sorry.
You are not alone.
No. Melissa?
I'm kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel on this one because like I said, I didn't really love the season. But going back to the episode that Carol just talked about, now this is a really far what if. Okay, I'm stretching the incredulity on this one, but okay. What if Lucifer gets on the submarine and somehow they manage to put the spell on it, that it's like a Moloch box? So Dean gets off, the sub goes down, and now Lucifer is trapped in this Moloch sub. Right? Then we take Lucifer off the table.
Yeah. I like that. That's
a lot of agony.
Awesome. I mean, Elektra.
Gosh, I was there looking for a way to get rid of Tony, and Carol gave it to me. and I'm at the bottom of my list at this point.
Well,
it was sort of find a way to get rid of Tony at the end of this, because I don't like what she does and I don't like where it leads.
Well, I'm going to go back to Into the Mystic with the Banshee and Mildred and Eileen. And what if after they have, dealt with the Banshee, Mildred, who is very plucky, decides that she really likes this monster hunting. And so it's sort of like Monsters, she wrote, instead of Murder, she wrote. And Mildred recruits a couple of her friends from the Mahjong circle. And this is a whole lot more fun than Bridget Mahjong. They go around, doing the low level stuff. So the real hunters don't have to worry about it. And they get rid of ghosts, and they get rid of, the less scary monsters. But you've got 2 or 3 retired ladies, and maybe they draw on whatever it was they did in their careers. Maybe one of them's a retired pharmacist, so she knows how to drug the monsters. And maybe you've got one of them who's a retired doctor, so she can, do some of the other things. And that's just what they do. It's kind of a low level, cozy monster hunting with these 3 retired ladies who get rid of all these kind of pathetic monsters that sort of want to be put out of their misery. And so they're not even mean monster hunters. They find these monsters that just kind of took a wrong turn on the way to Albuquerque and never made it to the afterlife, and so they help.
I'd
And
watch
one
that.
of them could be like a chef, and they kind of get into the kitchen magic where they can make some potions and stuff.
One of them was a librarian, so she does all the research.
Yeah. Sort of like the Golden
Monsters she wrote.
Yeah.
The Golden Girls, only with ghosts. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
The
that.
ghastly Golden Girls.
See, I think there's promise there. Well, let me toss this out, because if we are getting snagged on something, I thought that the whole idea of making Dean the soul bomb to go blow up Amara was something that we'd done in one form or another before and after and again. It just wasn't new.
He just has that kind of face,
Yeah. But this whole, well, and we certainly, they came back to it again. Well, let's make Jack the soul bomb this time. To take out Chuck. What else could they have done to, have
Would
that?
they have kidnapped a Reaper for that job?
Yeah. Or Chuck could have, manned up.
That wasn't happening.
Yeah.
Not ever.
Yeah, I like the idea of Reaper, something.
Lock them both in the cage with Lucifer.
I mean, there has to be some low-level monster they could grab that we didn't want to leave running loose.
Amara wasn't bad. Like, she was about vengeance because of what her stupid brother did. But I think that they could have, because we see later that Amara is just like not interested in messing with the world, and she's just like, she's benign. They could have gotten Amara to that benign place. Chuck was the real monster there, the one they really needed to get off the. Well, we know ultimately Chuck's the real monster. We need to get him off the board. I really, just throw him in a cage, or
Amara would have been fine as long as she could play Keno.
Yeah, all she wanted to do was shop and eat pierogies and,
try boots and play Keno.
And if Chuck hadn't poofed her masseuse, she would have been just fine in Iceland or wherever she was hanging out in the hot tubs.
Yeah. I think the easiest answer would have been to take Amara off the board at the beginning, when she was baby, and then just let Chuck go write his stupid books. Carole, what you got?
What if Amara, instead of being nabbed by Crowley and then fed all that dark history and stuff, what if she had been sent to like Jody and Donna to be fostered, and so they're actually bringing her up in a positive way, and so she doesn't feel the need to be extinguishing people and sending out evil dark fogs and stuff like that, and sucking their souls out like bone marrow.
Talk about a nature versus nurture.
Exactly.
I've got another one for you. In Plush, the one with the haunted theater costumes. What if, as they are chasing down the haunted theater costumes, they realize that there's another set of hunters on the case? And it's the girls from fan fiction who have graduated, and now they see, they know that there's the supernatural world out there. And they take this very personally, being theater geeks. And so they have made it their mission to unhaunt theaters and to unhaunt costume shops. And, because they love theater so much. And so it's the main girls from fan fiction who travel around, and that's their big focus, is unhaunting theaters and anything that has to do with theaters. So it's like, yeah, and Sam and Dean think they're going in for it, and they get knocked out of the way. The girls from the theater going, no, we got this handled. And that could have been fun.
I have one last one.
Okay.
What if, when Claire is running around accusing people of being vampires and monsters and stuff, and she's like she's being wrong all the time and stuff. What if they just committed her?
You really don't like Claire.
No.
They're just like, this chick has lost it, and she is now a danger to the community and to herself, and they whisk her off to a nice asylum in the country.
She'll be fine till Anna shows up.
Or until she finds the guy who was watching Looney Tunes.
Oh, yes.
There's a lot of dangerous asylums around.
That's it. That was my last one.
Or the Wraiths. She could have gone after the Wraiths, because I'm sure the Wraiths were probably hunting at more than one mental institution. So
yeah, that would have given her a job.
Yeah, and she
took her out of our hair.
That's right.
It's not like it's hard to get into a mental institution. All you have to do is tell the truth about your job.
Yep. Yep.
All right, everybody. Well, I think we've been pretty thorough and we've run through our time. So thank you so much for that. But before we end, let's let everybody have a chance to say where we can find you online. Carole?
You can find me on Facebook in the continual groups and on many, many, many continual panels. Also in the Supernatural TFWNC group that Gail runs. My fan fiction is under Firesign 10 on AO3. Find the tags. And as Ellis Colton, I am an MM romance writer, and my books are available on Amazon and Smashword. And all of my social media links for Ellis Colton are at elliscolton.card, CARRD.cm.
Okay, Melissa.
Kitty would like everybody to know that we can be found here on Continual.
Elektra.
Elektra Hammond. You can find me at untilmidnight.com and on Mastodon, electra.wandering.shops.
I'm pretty easy to find at gailzmartin.com, morganbryce.com. If you look for me on the socials under one or both of those names, you'll find them if you spell them right. I do run the Supernatural TFWNC group on Facebook. I'm a columnist for the Winchester Family Business blog, and I write reviews on Walker, which is starting back up again. But mostly, I'm here on Continual. So thank you for being fantastic panelists, and thanks to all of you for watching and listening. There will be more Supernatural coming up soon, so we'll see you online.